The monitor flatlines for 3 seconds before the machine catches itself. Elio Quen's hand freezes halfway to the clipboard. The sound doesn't wake anyone. Not the senior nurses in the break room. Not the attending physician who signed off 2 hours ago. Not the security guard making his rounds on the floor below. Just Elio, standing in the doorway of the neonatal intensive care unit at 2:47 a.m., watching a baby fight for breath. Rain hammers the reinforced windows. The kind of storm that makes the whole building groan like it's trying to shake itself apart. Elio's scrubs stick to his back, damp from the humidity that creeps through every sealed door, every climate-controlled hallway. His shoes squeak against the linoleum as he steps closer to the crib. The baby's name is known Calderi. Elio knows this because he's been updating the same chart for 6 days straight. Weight, temperature, fluid intake, output. Numbers that should be climbing but keep sliding backward like someone greased the scale. The baby's ribs press against skin so thin it looks like parchment. His fingers curl and uncurl in slow motion, like he's trying to hold onto something that keeps slipping away. The feeding tube taped to his cheek shifts with each shallow breath. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Elio's supposed to be checking vitals on the twins in room 304, but he can't stop staring at the weight log. 6 pounds, 2 ounces at birth. 5 pounds, 14 ounces 3 days later. 5 pounds, 9 ounces yesterday. This morning's reading sits at the bottom of the page in blue ink. 5 pounds, 4 ounces. Premature infants lose weight. Everyone says so. The attending physician said so. The head nurse said so. Dr. Halden Crowe, the specialist who flew in from Chicago with credentials thick enough to choke on, said so with the kind of confidence that made people stop asking questions. But Elio grew up in a neighborhood where people said a lot of things that turned out to be lies wrapped in expensive words. He picks up the chart and flips back 3 pages. The calorie count increased 4 days ago. Protein supplementation started 48 hours after that. The baby should be gaining weight, not losing it. Basic math. Basic biology. The kind of stuff they drilled into his head during the first month of nursing school before they started teaching him how to stay quiet and follow orders. A shadow moves behind the glass partition separating the ICU from the observation corridor. Elio's pulse jumps. He sets the chart down carefully, smooths the pages like he was just doing routine checks, and steps back from the crib. The shadow doesn't stop, doesn't slow down. Just keeps walking until the footsteps fade into the white noise of machines breathing for people who can't do it themselves. Elio exhales. His hands shake. He shoves them into his pockets and counts to 10 the way his cousin Miriam taught him when he was 12 and couldn't sleep because their apartment building had thin walls and loud neighbors. No one makes a sound. Not a cry. Something smaller. Something that doesn't have enough air behind it to be called anything but a whisper. His tiny chest rises and falls like he's carrying weight no newborn should know exists. Elio's been working at St. Raphael's for 8 months. Long enough to recognize which doctors treat omegas like people and which ones treat them like equipment that talks. Long enough to know that low-rank male omegas like him don't ask questions. They take notes. They nod. They say yes, doctor, and right away, and they survive by being invisible. But something about this baby's cry, thin, strained, wrong, makes him feel like he's watching someone drown in slow motion while everyone else checks their phones. He glances at the monitor. Heart rate steady. Oxygen saturation hovering at 92%. Not great, but not critical. Not enough to trigger alarms. Not enough to make anyone come running. Elio looks at the feeding log again. The entries are neat, precise, every 2 hours like clockwork. But the timing bothers him. The last feeding happened at 1:30 a.m. 17 minutes ago. The baby should still be full. Should still be sleeping off the exhaustion that comes with trying to digest formula when your stomach's the size of a marble. Instead, None's sweating. Tiny beads of moisture collecting along his hairline, soaking into the cotton cap meant to keep his body heat from escaping. Elio reaches out and touches the baby's hand. The skin feels clammy, cool, like touching something that's been sitting in a refrigerator too long. He pulls his hand back and wipes his palm on his scrubs. The rain picks up, Thunder rolls somewhere in the distance, low and lazy, like it's got all night to make its point. Lightning flashes once, twice, painting the room in stark white bursts that make the shadows look deeper than they should. Elio's about to leave, about to go check on the twins in 304 like he's supposed to, when he notices the 4 bag hanging beside None's crib. The label says saline. Standard hydration. Nothing unusual. But the drip rate's set higher than the chart says it should be. Not by much. Just enough that most people wouldn't notice unless they were looking. Unless they'd spent the last 6 days memorizing every detail of this baby's care because something in their gut kept screaming that none of this added up. Elio's mouth goes dry. He checks the chart again. Compares the numbers. The prescribed rate, 15 milliliters per hour. The actual rate, 22 milliliters per hour. 7 milliliters doesn't sound like much. But in a newborn whose entire body weight fits inside a bread basket, 7 milliliters an hour for 6 straight days is the difference between recovery and disaster. Someone adjusted the 4. Recently, the tubing's still warm where it connects to the pump. Elio steps back from the crib like he just touched something radioactive. His brain tries to find innocent explanations. Maybe the day shift made a mistake. Maybe the pump malfunctioned. Maybe Dr. Crowe ordered a change and forgot to update the chart. Maybe. But Elio spent his whole life learning to recognize when maybe is just another word for run. He looks at None one more time. The baby's eyes are closed, but his face is scrunched up like he's trying to solve a problem that hurts. His tiny fingers open and close, grasping at air, at nothing, at a future that keeps slipping further out of reach with every passing hour. Elio turns and walks toward the door. His shift ends in 4 hours. He's got 3 more floors to cover before he can clock out and pretend he didn't see anything worth remembering. But halfway down the hall, he stops, pulls out his phone, opens the camera app and goes back to None's room. He takes a picture of the 4 pump, the drip rate glowing in green digital numbers, the label on the saline bag, the chart sitting on the counter with its perfectly neat entries that don't match what's actually happening. The flash makes him flinch. Too bright. Too obvious. But no one comes. No one asks what he's doing. Elio shoves his phone back in his pocket and leaves before his luck runs out. Outside the ICU, the hospital hums with the kind of quiet that only exists in the dead hours between midnight and dawn. Fluorescent lights flicker overhead. A janitor pushes a mop bucket past him without looking up. Somewhere down the hall, a television plays the news on mute. Elio keeps walking, keeps his head down, keeps his breathing steady even though his heart's trying to break out of his chest. Because if someone's adjusting that baby's 4 on purpose, if someone's making him lose weight while pretending to help him gain it, then known Calderi isn't just sick. He's being used. Do you think Elio should risk everything to expose the truth? Or stay silent to protect himself? Drop your answer below. Dr. Halden Crowe doesn't walk into rooms. He arrives. Like weather. Like inevitability. Elio watches from the nurse's station as Crowe pushes through the ICU doors at 6:15 a.m., white coat pristine, stethoscope draped around his neck like jewelry. 2 residents trail behind him, clutching tablets and nodding at everything he says even though he hasn't said anything yet. The morning shift's already started. Nurses move between cribs with practiced efficiency, checking monitors, adjusting blankets, whispering to babies who can't understand words but recognize tone. Elio's supposed to be gone by now. His shift ended 30 minutes ago, but he stayed. Told the charge nurse he wanted to finish his documentation. Told himself he just needed to see if anything changed overnight. Told himself a lot of things that didn't explain why his phone felt like a bomb in his pocket. Crowe stops at None's crib. Doesn't touch the baby. Just stands there reading the chart with the kind of focus that makes everyone around him go quiet. One of the residents starts to speak, but Crowe raises a hand and the kid shuts his mouth so fast his teeth click. Fascinating, Crowe says. His voice carries across the unit even though he's barely speaking above a murmur. Metabolic adaptation in real time. You don't see this often. The second resident, a woman with red hair pulled back so tight it looks painful, leans in to look at the chart. Should we increase the caloric intake again? Dr. Crowe? No. Crowe sets the chart down and finally touches known. One finger pressed gently against the baby's chest, feeling the heartbeat. We hold steady. Let the body find its baseline. Intervention at this stage would corrupt the data. Elio's grip tightens on the pen he's been holding for the last 10 minutes. The data, not the patient, not the baby. The data. The red-haired resident frowns. But the weight loss is expected, Crowe interrupts. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. Premature omega infants born into high-stress environments exhibit delayed anabolic response. The literature supports watchful waiting. Elio knows what literature Crowe's talking about. He read it during his third year of nursing school. A 12-page study published in a journal nobody outside academic medicine had ever heard of. Crowe's name was on it. First author. The conclusion recommended patience and observation over aggressive treatment. The study had 20 subjects. 15 of them died before their first birthday. Crowe moves to the next crib. The residents follow. The nurses go back to work. And Elio sits at the desk pretending to write notes while his brain screams at him to do something. Say something. Be something other than a 23-year-old Omega intern who learned a long time ago that making noise gets you noticed in all the wrong ways. The ICU doors swing open again. This time, everyone notices. Ciro and Rafe Calderi don't arrive like weather. They arrive like a shift in air pressure, like the moment before lightning strikes. Ciro's taller, broader, the kind of build that makes doorways look narrow. Dark hair cropped short, jawline sharp enough to cut glass, eyes that track movement the way predators do. He's wearing a black suit that probably costs more than Elio makes in 3 months, and he moves through the ICU like he owns it. Maybe he does. Elio's heard stories. The kind people tell in whispers when they think nobody's listening. The Calderi twins built an empire on things polite society doesn't talk about. Guns, territory, blood. Rafe's different. Same height, same bone structure, but something softer in the way he carries himself. He's the one who notices the nurses first, nods at them, says good morning like he means it. The one who stops at every crib between the entrance and known station, looking at the babies like they're miracles instead of data points. Crowe straightens when he sees them. His smile shifts into something warmer, more practiced. Gentleman, right on time. How is he? Ciro doesn't waste words. Doesn't pretend this is a social visit. Stable. Crowe gestures to the monitor like it's proof. Heart rate excellent. Oxygen levels holding. We're seeing exactly what I predicted. Rafe moves to the crib and looks down at his son. His hand hovers over Known's head like he wants to touch him, but doesn't trust himself not to break something. He looks smaller. Perception, Crowe says smoothly. The swelling from birth is resolving. He'll look more fragile before he looks stronger. That's normal. Elio watches Rafe's jaw tighten. Watches Ciro's eyes narrow just slightly. They don't believe Crowe. Not completely, but they don't challenge him either. Because what do you say to a man with 3 decades of research and a wall full of degrees? What argument do you make when everyone around you keeps insisting that patience is the answer and you're just scared parents who don't know any better? We increased his feeds yesterday, Crowe continues. Another adjustment this morning. By the end of the week, we should see significant improvement. Ciro's gaze shifts to the chart. Elio sees the exact moment he registers the weight. Sees his expression go flat and hard like a door slamming shut. He's lost another 2 ounces. Temporary. Crowe doesn't miss a beat. Before the body accepts increased nutrition, it purges excess fluids. Standard compensatory mechanism. Rafe's still staring at Known. His hand finally comes to rest on the baby's chest, so gentle it barely makes contact. When does it stop being temporary? The question hangs in the air like smoke. Crowe's smile doesn't waver, but something flickers behind his eyes. Something cold and calculating that reminds Elio of the way his stepfather used to look at bills they couldn't pay. Mr. Calderi, Crowe says, his tone patient, almost condescending. I understand your concern. First-time parents often struggle with the anxiety of watching their child adapt. But I assure you, Known is progressing exactly as expected for an Omega infant in his situation. Zero takes a step forward. Just one. But the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. His situation? Premature birth. Omega physiology. High alpha parentage. Crowe ticks off the factors like he's reading a grocery list. The biological conflict alone creates metabolic challenges that, "You're saying our son is losing weight because of what we are?" Rafe's voice stays quiet, but there's an edge to it now. Something sharp hiding under the softness. "I'm saying," Crowe replies carefully, "that biology doesn't care about intention. Your son's body is trying to reconcile conflicting genetic signals. That takes time." Elio's pen snaps in his hand. The crack echoes loud enough that Zero's gaze cuts toward him. For half a second, their eyes meet. Elio's pulse hammers in his throat. He looks down at his paperwork, at the broken pen bleeding ink across his notes, and waits for the moment to pass. It does. Zero turns back to Crowe, but something's changed. There's a new weight to the silence, a new tension coiling through the space between words. Rafe's hand stays on Noan's chest. "We want a second opinion." "Of course." Crowe's smile widens. "I encourage it. In fact, I have colleagues at Johns Hopkins and Stanford who specialize in Omega neonatal care. I'd be happy to arrange consultations." "We want someone local," Zero says. "Someone who can see him today." Crowe's smile finally falters. Just for a second. Just long enough for Elio to see the crack in the performance. Local facilities lack the specialized equipment for this kind of assessment. "I really must insist." "You can insist all you want." Zero's tone doesn't rise. Doesn't need to. "We're his parents. We're asking for another doctor to look at our son. That's not negotiable." The residents shift uncomfortably. One of the nurses suddenly finds something fascinating about the medication cart in the corner. Elio keeps his eyes on his ruined paperwork and tries to remember how to breathe quietly. Crowe's jaw tightens. For just a moment, the mask slips completely, and Elio sees something underneath that makes his stomach turn. Not anger, not frustration, something colder. Something that looks like a man watching an experiment develop an unexpected variable. Then the smile's back. Smooth, professional, perfect. "Of course, I'll have my assistant coordinate with Dr. Venn from St. Catherine's. She's excellent. Very thorough." Rafe nods. Zero doesn't. He's still watching Crowe the way a wolf watches something it hasn't decided whether to eat or ignore. Crowe excuses himself. The residents follow. The ICU settles back into its normal rhythm of beeping monitors and hushed voices. Elio stands up to leave. His legs feel shaky. His hands still smell like ink from the broken pen. He makes it 3 steps toward the door before Zero's voice stops him cold. "You!" Elio turns. Zero's looking right at him. Not at the nurses. Not at the other staff members moving through the unit. Him. "Yes, sir? You were here last night." It's not a question. Elio swallows hard. "Yes, sir. Night shift. I was covering. You've been watching my son." Every instinct Elio has screams at him to lie, to deflect, to smile and say something forgettable and get the hell out of this conversation before it turns into something he can't walk away from. Instead, he hears himself say, "Yes." Rafe's attention shifts toward him now too, softer than Zero's but no less focused. "Why?" Elio's mouth goes dry. He thinks about the photo on his phone. The 4 pump set 7 milliliters too high. The weight dropping day after day while everyone smiles and calls it normal. He thinks about the 15 babies in Crowe's study who didn't make it to their first birthday. Because someone should, Elio says quietly. The words land like stones in still water. Zero's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his posture. Something that looks like recognition. Rafe glances at his brother, then back at Elio. "What's your name?" "Elio Quen." "You see something we're missing, Elio?" Elio looks at Noan, at the baby's tiny chest rising and falling with effort, at the feeding tube taped to his cheek and the 4-line running into his paper-thin arm. He thinks about his cousin Miriam telling him that survival means keeping your head down and your mouth shut. He thinks about every job he's ever lost because he asked the wrong question or noticed the wrong thing or forgot that people like him weren't supposed to have opinions. He thinks about Noan's weight dropping another 2 ounces by tomorrow morning while Crowe smiles and calls it progress. I see a discrepancy, Elio says finally. Ciro's eyes narrow. Show me. Will Elio's evidence be enough to convince the twins, or has he just painted a target on his back? Comment your prediction. Noan gains 4 ounces in 36 hours. The ICU erupts in relief. Nurses smile. Residents congratulate each other. The attending physician who signed off on Crowe's treatment plan walks through the unit with his chest puffed out like he personally saved the baby's life. Dr. Crowe accepts the praise with gracious humility. He adjusts his glasses, nods thoughtfully, says things like patience and precision and trusting the process, while everyone around him acts like they just witnessed a miracle. Elio stands in the corner of the break room watching the celebration through the window and feels sick. Because he knows what they adjusted to make Noan gain weight. He watched them do it. Watched Crowe recalibrate the monitors yesterday afternoon, speaking in calm, measured tones about correcting baseline drift and recalculating target ranges. Watched him change the parameters that trigger alerts so the machine wouldn't scream when Noan's vitals dipped. Watched him turn down the 4 drip rate. Not because it was wrong before, but because now they needed the baby to improve. Needed the numbers to climb so everyone would stop asking questions. For ounces, barely anything, but enough to make the Calderi twins loosen their grip on the crib railing. Enough to make them breathe again. Enough to make them trust. Elio drains the last of his coffee and throws the cup in the trash. His shift starts in 10 minutes. He's been awake for 20 hours straight, covering a double because Jenkins called in sick and someone had to take the overnight. His eyes feel like sandpaper. His back aches. His brain keeps replaying the moment 2 days ago when he showed Ciro Calderi the photo of the 4-pump and waited for the world to end. It didn't end. Ciro looked at the image, looked at the chart, looked at Elio with an expression that could have meant anything from thank you to you're already dead and just don't know it yet. Then he said, "We'll handle it," and walked away. Elio hasn't spoken to either of the twins since. Hasn't been called into an administrator's office or questioned by hospital security. Hasn't been fired or threatened or disappeared into whatever black hole people like the Calderis used to solve problems. But he also hasn't stopped watching Noan's chart. Hasn't stopped comparing the prescribed rates to the actual rates. Hasn't stopped feeling like he's standing on ice that's cracking under his feet and there's nowhere safe to step. The break room door opens. Marissa Chun, one of the senior NICU nurses, pokes her head in and spots Elio hunched over the table. "You look like death. Feel like it too. Go home. Jenkins is back tonight. You've done your time." Elio shakes his head. "Got a couple more things to finish." Marissa gives him a look that says she knows he's lying but doesn't have the energy to argue. "Suit yourself. But if you pass out on my floor, I'm leaving you where you fall." She disappears back into the hallway. Elio waits until her footsteps fade, then pulls out his phone and opens the folder where he's been saving screenshots. For rates, weight logs, feeding schedules, little digital breadcrumbs that add up to a pattern he can't unsee and can't prove and can't stop thinking about. His thumb hovers over the delete button. It would be easy. One tap and all of it's gone. No evidence. No liability. No reason for anyone to remember that a low-rank Omega intern stuck his nose where it didn't belong. He closes the folder without deleting anything. The unit's quieter when he steps back onto the floor. Visiting hours ended 30 minutes ago, which means most of the parents are gone and the babies have the place to themselves. Monitors beep in rhythmic patterns. Ventilators hiss. Somewhere near the far end of the room, a newborn cries, thin and reedy, the sound of lungs that haven't figured out how to fill all the way yet. Elio checks the assignment board. He's got the West Wing tonight, 6 cribs, 2 preemies with respiratory distress, 1 set of twins recovering from jaundice treatment, and Noan. He stops at Noan's station first. Can't help himself. The baby's sleeping. Actually sleeping, not just unconscious from exhaustion. His face looks less pinched. His color's better. The tremors that used to run through his tiny limbs every time he tried to eat have faded to almost nothing. For ounces, such a small victory, but real, measurable, undeniable. Elio checks the 4-pump out of habit. The drip rate's set exactly where the chart says it should be. 15 milliliters per hour. No discrepancies. No adjustments. He should feel relieved. This is what he wanted, isn't it? For someone to fix the problem. For known to get better. For the system to work the way it's supposed to. Instead, he feels like he's watching a magic trick and can't figure out where the sleight of hand happened. Behind him, someone clears their throat. Elio spins around. Rafe Calderi stands 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, looking more exhausted than any man in a $1,000 suit should look. "Didn't mean to scare you," Rafe says quietly. "You didn't." Elio's heart hammers against his ribs hard enough to hurt. "I thought visiting hours were over." "They are." Rafe's smile is tired. "We made a donation. Got special permission." Of course they did. People like the Calderis don't follow rules. They negotiate terms. Rafe moves to the crib and looks down at his son. For a long moment, he doesn't say anything. Just stands there with his hand resting on the rail, watching Known breathe. "He looks better," Rafe says finally. "He is better. Because of you." Elio's stomach drops. You saw something nobody else did." Rafe's gaze shifts toward him. Or maybe they saw it and didn't care. "Either way, you spoke up. That took guts." "I don't know about that." "I do." Rafe's tone leaves no room for argument. "You didn't have to say anything. Could have kept your head down. Played it safe. Most people would have." Elio doesn't know what to say to that, so he says nothing. Just stands there feeling exposed in a way that has nothing to do with Rafe's attention and everything to do with the truth sitting between them like a third person in the room. "Crowe adjusted the treatment plan," Rafe continues. "Said he'd been too conservative. Said Known needed more aggressive intervention." His jaw tightens. "Didn't mention that he'd been running the 4 too high for a week straight. So they did handle it. Quietly, without making a scene. Without giving Elio credit or putting him at risk." "Is he gone?" Elio asks. "Crowe, I mean." Rafe's expression goes carefully neutral. "He's been reassigned to research duties. Won't be treating patients anymore. Reassigned. Not fired. Not reported. Not held accountable in any way that would show up on a medical license or in a court record." Elio wants to be angry about that. Wants to feel righteous indignation on behalf of every other baby Crowe might have used as a data point in his twisted little experiments. But mostly he just feels tired. "Thank you," Rafe says, "for caring when you didn't have to." "He's a baby," Elio says simply. "Someone had to." Rafe studies him for a moment longer, then nods. "You need anything, a reference, a recommendation, whatever, you let me know." It's a dismissal. Polite. Generous even, but still a dismissal. The kind that comes with a tacit agreement. "We're square now. Move on. Forget this happened." Elio should take it. Should say thank you and go back to his rounds and let this whole mess fade into the background noise of his life. Instead, he hears himself ask, "What if it happens again?" Rafe goes very still. What? Crowe's research. Whatever he was doing. Elio's pulse pounds in his ears, but he keeps talking anyway. He didn't invent it. He just followed a model. And models don't die when one person gets reassigned. For a long moment, Rafe doesn't respond. He just stands there looking at Elio like he's trying to figure out if he's brave or stupid or some dangerous combination of both. Then his phone buzzes. He glances at it, frowns, and types out a quick response. When he looks back at Elio, something in his expression has shifted. "You working tomorrow night?" "Yeah." "Good." Rafe pockets his phone. "We'll talk then." He leaves without explaining what that means. Elio watches him go, then turns back to Known's crib. The baby's still sleeping, still breathing, still fighting his way toward a future that should have been guaranteed but somehow became conditional. Elio checks the monitor one more time. Heart rate steady. Oxygen levels good. Everything trending in the right direction. Except the nagging feeling in his gut that says this isn't over. That 4 ounces isn't a victory. It's a pause. And somewhere in this hospital, someone's already calculating the next variable. Do you think Elio just saved None's life? Or did he only delay the inevitable? Let us know what you think. The alarms start at 11:43 p.m. Not the gentle chimes that mean someone's forebag needs changing or a monitor lost connection. The kind that screams. The kind that makes every nurse on the floor move at once. Fast and coordinated. Like they've rehearsed this exact nightmare 100 times. Elio's in the supply room restocking when the sound hits. He drops the box of gauze he's holding and runs. None's crib sits in the center of a controlled hurricane. 3 nurses surround it, hands moving in synchronized precision. Dr. Ven, the second opinion specialist the Calderis requested, stands at the head of the crib calling orders in a voice that cuts through chaos like a blade. Oxygen saturation's dropping. Get me the bag valve mask. Someone page respiratory now. Elio skids to a stop at the edge of the organized chaos and watches None's tiny body arch against the mattress. The baby's face has gone from pink to gray. His fingers clench into fists so tight the knuckles turn white. Every breath sounds like someone dragging sandpaper across metal. What happened? Elio doesn't realize he said it out loud until Dr. Ven's gaze snaps toward him. Not now, Quen. But Marissa Chun, already moving toward the crash cart, answers anyway. No warning. Vitals were stable 20 minutes ago. Then this. Elio's brain short-circuits. Stable to critical in 20 minutes doesn't happen. Not with the kind of monitoring they've got set up. Not unless something changed. He pushes closer. Gets a clear view of the monitors. Heart rate elevated but not dangerous. Blood pressure holding. Temperature normal. Everything tracking exactly where it should be except for the oxygen levels, which are falling like a stone dropped off a cliff. Bag him, Dr. Then orders. One of the nurses fits a tiny mask over None's face and starts squeezing the attached balloon in steady rhythms, forcing air into lungs that aren't cooperating. Elio's eyes track across the equipment surrounding the crib. For lines. Feeding tube. Pulse oximeter clipped to None's foot. Heart monitor leads stuck to his chest. Everything exactly where it was an hour ago when he did his last check. Except the 4-pump strip rate isn't 15 milliliters per hour anymore. It's 28. Elio's stomach turns to ice. He moves closer, checking the display twice to make sure his exhausted brain isn't inventing problems that don't exist. But the numbers don't change. 28 milliliters per hour. Almost double what it should be. Dr. Ven. His voice comes out steadier than he feels. The 4 rate's wrong. Ven doesn't look up. Not relevant right now, Quen. We need to stabilize his breathing first. It might be why he's not breathing. Elio's already reaching for the pump, fingers hovering over the controls. If someone increased the saline drip, it could cause fluid overload. His lungs. Step back. Ven's tone sharpens. Unless you've suddenly acquired a medical degree I don't know about, let the doctors handle this. Elio steps back, but he doesn't stop watching the pump. Doesn't stop doing math in his head. 28 milliliters per hour for how long? If someone changed it right after his last round, say 40 minutes ago, that's an extra 18 milliliters of fluid dumped into a baby whose entire circulatory system holds maybe 300 milliliters total. None's oxygen saturation hits 87%. The alarm pitch changes, climbing higher, more insistent. Dr. Ven swears under her breath and adjusts her position. Where the hell is respiratory? 2 minutes out. Someone calls from the nurse's station. 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, None's brain starts dying from lack of oxygen. In 2 minutes, everything gets exponentially worse. Elio looks at the 4-pump again. At the numbers glowing green in the dark. At the simple truth that nobody's paying attention to because they're all focused on the symptoms instead of the cause. He makes a decision. His hand shoots out and hits the pause button on the pump. The drip stops instantly. The machine beeps once in protest, then goes quiet. Every head in the room swivels toward him. What the hell are you doing? Dr. Ven's face goes from focused to furious in half a second. Fluid overload, Elio says quickly. Someone changed the 4 rate. If we don't stop it now, you just contaminated the line. Ven's voice could freeze blood. Get out of this room. Now. Listen to me. Elio's talking fast, words tripping over each other in their rush to get out before someone physically removes him. Check his lungs. If there's fluid buildup, you can hear it. Rowels, crackles, anything. Just listen before you. Security. Ven doesn't yell. Doesn't need to. Her tone carries enough weight to make 2 orderlies materialize out of nowhere and grab Elio by both arms. He doesn't fight them, just keeps talking as they drag him backward. Check the pump logs. Someone adjusted it remote. The supply room door cuts off the rest of his sentence. The orderlies release him with expressions that land somewhere between apologetic and annoyed. One of them, a guy named Marcus who Elio's shared break room coffee with a dozen times, shakes his head. Man, what were you thinking? Elio slides down the wall until he's sitting on the floor, heart hammering, hands shaking, mind replaying the last 60 seconds on loop. I was thinking that baby's drowning. Marcus grimaces. Yeah, well, not your call to make. They leave him there. Elio pulls his knees to his chest and tries to breathe through the adrenaline crash, making his whole body feel like it's vibrating apart. He screwed up. Massively. You don't override a doctor's authority in the middle of a crisis. You don't touch equipment without permission. You especially don't do it as a low-rank Omega intern whose job description ends at follow orders and stay quiet. He's going to get fired. Maybe worse. The Calderis might have protected him last time, but they weren't there to see him grab the 4 pump like he had any right to make that choice. The door opens. Elio doesn't look up. Doesn't want to see security coming to escort him out of the building or HR ready to collect his badge. Instead, he hears Ciro Calderi's voice, low and deadly calm. What happened? Elio's head snaps up. Ciro stands in the doorway, still wearing a suit that suggests he came straight from somewhere important. Behind him, Rafe looks equally out of place and equally ready to burn the building down if someone doesn't start explaining things immediately. There was an emergency, Elio manages. None's oxygen levels crashed. Dr. Ven was handling it, but the 4 rate was wrong and I thought. He stops. Swallows. I stopped the drip. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. Ciro's expression doesn't change. Is our son still alive? I don't know. They kicked me out. Rafe's jaw tightens. He exchanges a glance with his brother, the kind of silent communication that comes from sharing a lifetime of violence and survival. Then they both turn and head toward the ICU. Elio scrambles to his feet. Wait, you can't just. But they're already gone. He slumps against the wall and closes his eyes. Listens to his pulse thunder in his ears. Counts his breaths the way Miriam taught him. Tries to convince himself that stopping the 4 was the right call even if it costs him everything. The minutes crawl past. 5, 10, 15. When the door opens again, it's Marissa. She looks exhausted and angry and something else Elio can't quite name. You're an idiot, she says flatly. I know. You're also right. She tosses him a tablet. Pump logs. Someone accessed the system remotely at 11:07 and increased the drip rate. Override code traced back to a terminal in the research wing. Elio stares at the screen, at the timestamp, at the user ID that should have been locked out 2 days ago when Crowe got reassigned. He's still in the system. Looks like it. Marissa's expression is grim. Dr. Ven listened to None's lungs after you left. Heard fluid. Called for a diuretic and a chest x-ray. Kid's stable now. Oxygen's back up to 94%. Relief hits so hard Elio has to sit down again. He's okay? For now. Marissa takes the tablet back. But this is the second time someone's tried to kill that baby while pretending to help him. Third time's not going to be the charm. Elio's hands won't stop shaking. What do I do? Marissa looks at him for a long moment. That's not my call. But if I were you, I'd start asking who benefits if known Calderi doesn't make it to his first birthday. She leaves. The door clicks shut. and Elio sits alone in the supply room, staring at his trembling hands, realizing he just went from witness to target, because whoever changed that 4 rate knows he's watching. And next time, they won't be sloppy. Is someone inside the hospital trying to finish what Crowe started? Or is this something even bigger? Drop your theory below. Elio doesn't go home after his shift ends. He should. His apartment's 20 minutes away by bus, and his bed's been calling his name for the last 18 hours. But instead he finds himself sitting in the hospital cafeteria at 7:32 a.m., nursing burnt coffee and staring at nothing while his brain tries to process the fact that someone just tried to murder a baby using equipment he could have stopped if he'd been paying closer attention. The cafeteria's mostly empty. A few residents slumped over breakfast trays. A janitor mopping the far corner. Morning light filtering through the windows in weak gray streaks that make everyone look half dead. Elio pulls out his phone and opens the photos he took 3 days ago. The 4 pump, the wrong drip rate, the chart that didn't match reality. He should delete these. Should have deleted them the second the Calderis got involved. Keeping evidence makes him complicit in ways he doesn't want to think about. He's about to hit delete when someone slides into the seat across from him. Not someone. Ciro Calderi. Looking like he hasn't slept in a week, but somehow still manages to make a rumpled suit look dangerous. Elio nearly drops his phone. Mr. Calderi. I didn't. You saved my son's life last night. Ciro's voice is flat, stating facts, not fishing for gratitude. Second time you've done that. I just stopped the 4. Dr. Venn did the... Don't. Ciro leans back in his chair, eyes fixed on Elio with an intensity that makes his skin crawl. Don't minimize what you did. You saw the problem. You acted. Most people can't do that even when their own lives are on the line. Elio doesn't know what to say to that. Settles for, is known okay? Stable. Rafe's with him now. Ciro's jaw tightens. We've got private security outside the ICU. Nobody gets near him without going through them first. Good. It's not good. It's necessary. Ciro's tone hardens. Because someone in this hospital just tried to kill an infant, and I need to know if you have any idea who. Elio's stomach drops. Crowe's access was supposed to be revoked, but the pump logs show. We pulled Crowe's access 3 days ago. Ciro cuts him off. Personally verified it with IT. Whoever changed that 4 rate last night did it using credentials that shouldn't exist anymore. The implication sits between them like a bomb with a lit fuse. Someone cloned Crowe's access. Someone with enough clearance to manipulate the system without triggering security alerts. Someone who knew exactly when to strike for maximum impact and minimum witnesses. There's more than one person involved, Elio says slowly, the pieces clicking together in his head even as he speaks them out loud. Has to be. Crowe couldn't have done all this alone. The study, the protocols, the data collection, that takes infrastructure. Support staff. People who knew what he was doing and helped him do it. Ciro's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his posture. A subtle tensing that suggests Elio just said something important. What makes you think it's a study? Elio hesitates. This is the moment where he either commits or walks away, where he decides if he trusts the man sitting across from him enough to hand over everything he's pieced together from stolen glances at restricted files and late-night Google searches that probably put him on a dozen watch lists. He thinks about Noan's tiny face going gray, about the sound of those alarms screaming into the night, about 15 dead babies whose names nobody remembers because they were just data points in someone's research paper. I looked up Crowe's publications, Elio admits. Found a study from 2019. Metabolic optimization in omega neonates through controlled nutritional stress. 20 subjects. 15 died. The conclusion recommended further research. Ciro goes very still. You're saying Crowe's been running experiments on sick babies. I'm saying Crowe believes he can improve omega survival rates through strategic deprivation. And I'm saying Noan fits the profile of his ideal test subject. Premature. Omega. Born to alpha parents in high-stress environments. Elio's hands clench around his coffee cup. The weight loss wasn't a complication. It was the point. For a long moment, Ciro doesn't respond. Just sits there processing information with the kind of cold calculation that reminds Elio exactly who he's talking to. A man who built an empire on violence and leverage and knowing when to pull triggers that others couldn't even see. When Ciro finally speaks, his voice is very quiet. How many others? What? How many other babies in this hospital right now are part of whatever Crowe was doing? Elio's blood turns to ice. He hadn't thought about that. Hadn't let himself think about that. I don't know. Find out. It's not a request. Not even really an order. Just a statement of fact delivered with the kind of certainty that makes arguing seem pointless. I don't have access to. You will. Ciro pulls out his phone, types something quickly, and sets it face down on the table. You're being transferred to administrative duties. Chart review, data analysis, quality assurance. Whatever bureaucratic title makes you invisible while you dig through patient records looking for patterns. I'm a nurse. I can't just. You're whatever I need you to be. Ciro's eyes lock onto Elio's. And right now, I need someone who knows how to spot the difference between medical care and criminal negligence. Someone who gives a damn about babies dying when everyone else is too busy protecting their careers to notice. Elio's brain screams at him to say no. To walk away from this before it drags him down into something he can't climb out of. To remember that people who get involved with the Calderas tend to end up in shallow graves or witness protection. And neither option sounds appealing. But he thinks about known. About the sound of his thin, struggling breaths. About how many other babies might be fighting the same battle right now while their parents trust doctors who see them as data instead of children. Okay. Elio hears himself say. I'll do it. Ciro nods once. Stands. Pauses like he's about to say something else. Then seems to think better of it. He's halfway to the exit when Elio calls after him. Mr. Calderi? Ciro turns. If this isn't failure, Elio says, echoing words he overheard days ago in the ICU. What is it? Ciro's expression goes dark. An experiment. And experiments end when the people running them decide they've collected enough data. He holds Elio's gaze. Unless someone stops them first. Then he's gone. And Elio sits alone in the empty cafeteria, staring at cold coffee and wondering what he just agreed to. His phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. Report to HR at 0900. New assignment paperwork ready. RC. Elio checks the time. 7:51 a.m. He's got an hour and 9 minutes to figure out how to find evidence of organized medical abuse without getting himself killed in the process. He finishes his coffee, throws the cup away, heads toward the elevator that'll take him to HR and a job he's not qualified for and a mission that might be the most important thing he ever does or the stupidest mistake of his extremely short life. The elevator doors close. His reflection stares back at him in the polished metal. Exhausted, underpaid, wearing scrubs that smell like disinfectant and fear. But his eyes look different than they did a week ago. They look awake. Has Elio just become the Caldera's secret weapon? Or their next liability? Tell us what you think happens next. The file's labeled Metabolic Research Initiative, Confidential. Elio finds it buried 3 folders deep in the hospital's shared research drive at 2:17 p.m. 12 hours after Ciro Calderi turned him into whatever he is now. Not a nurse. Not an investigator. Something in between that doesn't have a name or a safety net. His new office is a converted storage room on the 3rd floor. No windows. 1 desk. A computer that takes 5 minutes to boot up and wheezes like it's got asthma. But it's got network access. And apparently nobody thought to revoke his credentials when they moved him from patient care to quality assurance. The file contains spreadsheets, dozens of them, patient ID numbers instead of names, birth weights, feeding schedules, medication logs, all organized with the kind of precision that makes Elio's skin crawl because he recognizes the pattern now. 23 babies, currently admitted, all premature, all omega, all assigned to the same research protocol that's supposed to be monitoring standard development but reads more like a recipe for controlled starvation. Elio's hands shake as he scrolls through the data. Some of these kids have been losing weight for weeks. Others show the same suspicious 4-rate adjustments he caught with known. A few have notes in the margin. Clinical observations written in medical shorthand that basically translate to subject experiencing distress but within acceptable parameters. Acceptable parameters. Like there's an acceptable amount of suffering for a newborn. He takes screenshots, saves them to a flash drive he bought this morning from the pharmacy across the street, buries the drive in his pocket and tries not to think about what happens if someone catches him stealing confidential research data. A knock on the door nearly stops his heart. Rafe Calderi doesn't wait for permission, just walks in, closes the door behind him, and looks at Elio with an expression that's equal parts exhaustion and barely controlled rage. Find anything? Elio slides the flash drive deeper into his pocket. 23 babies. Same protocol. All showing signs of nutritional stress. Rafe's jaw tightens. Names? Patient ID numbers. I'd need access to the main registry to cross-reference actual identities. You'll have it by tonight. Rafe moves closer, voice dropping. But I need you to understand something. What we're doing here, this isn't official. It's not legal. And if it goes wrong, I can't protect you the way you probably think I can. Elio meets his gaze. Then why are you doing it? Because my brother and I have done a lot of terrible things to a lot of people who probably deserved it. Rafe's voice is quiet, steady. But we draw the line at children. And if someone's using sick babies as lab rats, I don't care how many degrees they have or how much grant funding they've secured. They're going to answer for it. What if they don't? Rafe's smile is cold. Then they'll disappear, and nobody will ask questions. The words should scare Elio. Should send him running straight to HR or the police or anyone with the authority to stop this before it becomes the kind of thing people whisper about in true crime podcasts. Instead, he hears himself say, I need 48 hours, maybe less. If I can match these patient IDs to actual records, we'll know exactly who's involved and how deep this goes. Rafe nods, pulls out his phone and types something quickly. You've got access. Use it carefully. And Elio? He pauses at the door. Thank you for giving a damn when you didn't have to. Then he's gone. And Elio sits alone in his windowless office, staring at spreadsheets full of numbers that represent lives someone decided were worth sacrificing for science. He opens a new browser window, types in his elevated credentials, watches the hospital's main registry load with agonizing slowness. 23 babies. 23 families who trust doctors to heal, not harm. Elio clicks on the first patient ID and starts matching numbers to names. Will Elio uncover the full scope of the conspiracy before someone silences him permanently? Comment below and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Turn on notifications for stories that inspire, and share your thoughts to help others fighting their own battles. The basement archive smells like mold and forgotten paperwork. Elio descends the stairs at 11:53 p.m. Flashlight app illuminating concrete steps that haven't seen maintenance since the 90s. The hospital keeps its oldest records down here, stuff too outdated for digital conversion but too legally important to destroy. Birth certificates, consent forms, research agreements signed by parents who didn't read the fine print. He shouldn't be here. His access badge doesn't work on this door. But Marissa owed him a favor, and her boyfriend worked security, and now Elio's got 2 hours before the overnight patrol cycles back through this section. The filing cabinets line the walls like metal tombstones. Elio finds the section marked Research Participants 2019 to 2024 and starts pulling folders. His hands move mechanically. Open. Scan. Photograph. Close. Next folder. Repeat. Patient 4729. Consent form signed by Keisha Monroe. Baby boy, 6 weeks premature. Enrolled in nutritional optimization study, 3 days after birth. Discharged after 4 months. Status: deceased. Cause of death: respiratory failure. Patient 4730. Consent form signed by David and Marcus Chin. Baby girl, 8 weeks premature. Same study. Discharged after 2 months. Status: deceased. Cause of death: cardiac arrest. Patient 4731. Consent form signed by. Elio stops, reads the name twice, reads it again because his brain refuses to accept what his eyes are seeing. Jasmine Quen, his cousin, Miriam's younger sister. The one who got pregnant at 19 and delivered early and spent 3 months at St. Raphael's watching her daughter fight for every breath. The baby died 2 weeks after discharge. They said it was SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. Random, tragic, nobody's fault. Except the consent form in Elio's hands says Jasmine agreed to enroll her daughter in Crowe's study. Says she signed paperwork authorizing alternative nutritional protocols and extended metabolic monitoring. Says she trusted doctors who were killing her baby on purpose. Elio's vision blurs. His hands won't stop shaking. The folder slips from his grip and hits the concrete floor with a sound like a gunshot in the silence. He doesn't remember sitting down, doesn't remember pulling out his phone, but suddenly he's staring at a photo of Jasmine's daughter. Sweet round face, tiny fingers wrapped around Miriam's thumb, and he's doing math he doesn't want to do. 2 years ago, 20 subjects in Crowe's published study, 15 deaths. How many more studies were there? How many babies died while Crowe collected data and published papers and got invited to conferences where people called him brilliant? His phone buzzes. Text from Rafe. You okay? Security says you're in the basement. Elio types back with numb fingers. Found something. Need to finish here. The response comes immediately. 5 minutes. Then you leave. Not negotiable. Elio photographs the rest of Jasmine's file. Her signature at the bottom of the consent form. Shaky, desperate, the handwriting of someone who would have signed anything if it meant saving her child. He photographs the death certificate. The autopsy report that lists cardiac arrest as cause of death, but includes a note about unusual metabolic markers. He photographs everything. Then he puts the folder back exactly where he found it and keeps searching. For more files. For more dead babies. For more families who thought they were getting cutting-edge medical care but were actually participants in an experiment that treated their children like disposable test subjects. Elio's got 3 minutes left when he finds the current enrollment list. 23 names. 23 babies currently admitted to St. Raphael's NICU. All omega. All premature. All part of something called Phase 2 implementation. Phase 2. Like there's a roadmap. Like someone planned this. He photographs the list. Saves it to the flash drive. Heads for the stairs before security finds him somewhere he's not supposed to be. The night air hits him like a slap when he exits through the service entrance. Cold. Clean. Nothing like the suffocating weight of the basement archives where dead children exist as patient ID numbers and research data. Elio makes it halfway across the parking lot before his legs give out. He sits down hard on the curb, head between his knees, breathing through the nausea that's been building since he saw Jasmine's signature. His phone rings. Ciro's name on the screen. You found something. Not a question. Yeah. Elio's voice sounds hollow. My cousin's baby was one of Crowe's subjects. She died 2 years ago. They called it SIDS. Silence on the other end. Then, how many others? At least 19 in the last 5 years. Maybe more if I keep looking. Don't. Ciro's tone shifts. You've done enough. Send me what you have and go home. There's 23 babies upstairs right now who. I know, and we're going to handle it. But not by getting you killed. A pause. Elio, go home. That's an order. The line goes dead. Elio sits on the curb staring at his phone, at the photo of Jasmine's daughter still glowing on the screen, and realizes he just handed the Calderi twins enough evidence to burn St. Raphael's to the ground. Question is, will they use it to save lives? Or bury the people responsible so deep nobody ever finds them? Subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss how this ends. Drop your thoughts in the comments and inspire others facing impossible choices. The flash drive sits on Ciro's desk like a grenade with the pin pulled. Elio stands in the twins' office. An entire floor of a downtown building that probably costs more per month than he'll make in his lifetime. And watches Ciro plug the drive into his laptop. Rafe's at the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in low tones to someone who keeps saying yes, sir, on the other end. It's 6:42 a.m. Elio hasn't slept. Neither have they. Ciro opens the first file. His expression doesn't change as he scrolls through spreadsheets and consent forms and death certificates. But his fingers tighten on the mouse. His jaw sets in a way that makes Elio think of earthquakes. Pressure building underground, invisible until everything breaks. 19 confirmed deaths, Ciro says quietly. 23 current participants, all showing signs of nutritional deprivation disguised as medical care. Rafe ends his call and turns from the window. Our legal team says this is enough for criminal prosecution. Medical malpractice, wrongful death, probably federal charges if we can prove the research funding came from government grants. We're not going to court. Ciro closes the laptop, looks at Elio. Are we? It's not really a question, more like a test. Elio knows what they're asking, knows what they want to hear. The old way, the quiet way, the kind of justice that happens in soundproof rooms where nobody asks questions afterward. Part of him wants that too. Wants Crowe and everyone who helped him to disappear into unmarked graves. Wants revenge for Jasmine's daughter and all the other babies whose names became footnotes in research papers nobody read. But he thinks about the 23 families upstairs, about parents who still trust the system, about the next Crowe who'll come along if this gets buried instead of exposed. We go public, Elio says. Rafe's eyebrows rise. You understand what that means? Trials, testimony. Your face on the news while defense attorneys call you a liar and hospital administrators claim you fabricated evidence. I know. You'll lose your nursing license, Ciro adds. Probably never work in healthcare again. And the families, some of them won't thank you. They'll hate you for making them face what happened to their children. Elio's hands clench at his sides. My cousin signed a consent form because she thought it would save her baby. She trusted doctors who were running experiments on her daughter. She deserves to know the truth. They all do. Silence fills the office. Ciro and Rafe exchange one of their wordless conversations, entire arguments compressed into glances and slight shifts in posture. Finally, Rafe nods. Okay, we do this your way, but we do it smart. He pulls out his phone again, makes 3 calls in rapid succession. First to a lawyer who specializes in medical malpractice. Then to a journalist at the Tribune who owes him a favor. Last to someone he just calls V, who apparently handles things neither twin wants to explain. Ciro opens the laptop again. We need more than documents. We need testimony. Parents willing to go on record. Medical experts willing to contradict Crowe's research. Think you can help with that? Elio nods. Marissa knows most of the NICU families. And Dr. Venn. She's the one who actually listened when Known crashed. She might testify if we approach her right. Good. Ciro's expression is carved from stone. Because once we start this, we can't stop halfway. Either we burn it all down or we walk away and let them keep killing babies. There's no middle ground. Elio thinks about the basement archives. About folders full of death certificates and consent forms signed by desperate parents. About Known fighting for every breath while monitors tracked his decline like it was data instead of suffering. Then we burn it down. Rafe's phone buzzes. He glances at the screen and his jaw tightens. Hospital just announced Crowe's returning to active duty. Effective immediately. Board voted to reinstate him pending internal review of procedural concerns. The words land like a punch. Crowe's back. Walking the same halls. Treating the same patients. Probably already planning how to silence anyone who knows too much. Elio's blood turns to ice. The 23 babies are being moved to a different facility. Ciro's already typing. Tonight, private transport, armed security. Nobody touches them until this is over. You can't just kidnap patients. Watch me. Ciro's smile is cold. Their parents will be contacted, offered a choice. Stay at St. Raphael's with doctors who've been killing Omega infants for research, or transfer to a facility where the staff actually gives a damn if they live or die. It's not legal, probably not even moral. But it might be the only thing standing between those babies and becoming the next set of statistics in Crowe's research. Elio pulls out his phone, opens his contacts, starts making a list of everyone who might help. Nurses, parents, anyone who saw something wrong and stayed quiet because speaking up felt impossible. "What do you need me to do?" he asks. Rafe and Ciro look at each other. Some silent agreement passes between them. "Tell the truth," Rafe says simply. "On camera, on record, no matter who tries to stop you. The final battle's coming. Will Elio's testimony be enough to bring justice? Or will the system protect its own?" Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the conclusion. Share this story and comment below with your thoughts. The courtroom's packed. Elio sits in the witness box trying not to look at the cameras or the reporters or the families filling every available seat. His hands rest in his lap, fingers laced together to stop them shaking. The lawyer, a woman named Patricia Reeves who Rafe hired specifically because she eats hospital administrators for breakfast, gives him an encouraging nod. Across the aisle, Crowe's defense team looks like they cost more per hour than Elio makes in a month. 3 lawyers in suits that fit too perfectly, all of them radiating the kind of confidence that comes from winning cases nobody thought they could win. Crowe sits between them looking calm, almost bored, like this whole thing is a minor inconvenience instead of a reckoning for 19 dead babies and 23 more he tried to add to the list. The judge calls the court to order. Patricia stands and begins her examination. "Mr. Quen, can you describe what you observed on the night of November 8th? Elio's mouth is dry. He reaches for the water glass someone left on the stand. Takes a sip, starts talking. He tells them about the 4-pump. The wrong drip rate. The pattern he noticed over 6 days of watching Noan's weight drop while everyone called it normal. He tells them about the basement archives. The consent forms. The death certificates listing cardiac arrest and respiratory failure when the real cause was starvation disguised as treatment. Patricia introduces evidence. Spreadsheets, medical records, photos Elio took on his phone that night in the ICU. Everything projected on screens for the jury to see. Crowe's lead attorney, a man named Whitmore who looks like he plays golf with senators, stands for cross-examination. "Mr. Quen, you're not a doctor, correct?" "No, sir." "Not a medical researcher?" "No, sir." "In fact, you're a first-year nursing intern with less than 9 months of clinical experience. Is that accurate?" Elio's jaw tightens. "Yes." Whitmore smiles. "And yet you're asking this court to believe that you, with your limited training, identified a pattern that multiple board-certified physicians, experienced nurses, and hospital administrators all somehow missed. I'm not asking anyone to believe anything." Elio's voice stays steady. "I'm presenting evidence. The jury can decide what it means. Evidence you obtained by accessing confidential files without authorization, by photographing private medical records, by violating patient privacy laws and hospital security protocols." Whitmore's tone sharpens. "Evidence that could have been altered, manipulated, or fabricated by someone with an agenda." Patricia objects. The judge sustains. "But the damage is done." Whitmore's planted the seed. Maybe Elio's lying. Maybe he's got some personal vendetta. Maybe none of this is real. The trial continues for 3 days. 12 witnesses. Expert testimony from metabolic specialists who contradict Crowe's research. Parents who trusted doctors and buried children. Nurses who saw the same patterns Elio did but stayed quiet because speaking up meant losing everything. Marissa testifies. Dr. Venn testifies. Even Jasmine takes the stand, voice-breaking as she describes signing consent forms she didn't understand for a daughter who died 2 weeks later. Crowe never looks rattled, never shows emotion, just sits there taking notes like this is an academic debate instead of a trial that could end with him in prison. His defense is simple. The babies were already dying. He tried to save them. Some treatments work, some don't. Medicine isn't perfect. He did his best with the resources available. The jury deliberates for 6 hours. When they return, the forewoman stands and reads the verdict. Guilty on 17 counts of medical malpractice. Guilty on 9 counts of wrongful death. Not guilty on the federal charges, insufficient evidence of intentional harm. Crowe's expression doesn't change. He nods once, like he expected this. Like he's already calculating appeals and technicalities and ways to minimize the damage. The judge revokes his medical license, orders restitution to the families, sentences him to 8 years with possibility of parole. 8 years. For 19 dead babies. The courtroom erupts. Some families crying. Some shouting. Patricia squeezes Elio's shoulder and whispers, "We won, but it doesn't feel like winning. It feels like stopping a leak in a dam that's got 1,000 other cracks nobody's noticed yet." Elio walks out of the courthouse into late afternoon sun. Reporters shout questions he doesn't answer. Cameras flash. Someone yells his name, but he keeps walking until he reaches the street where Rafe and Ciro are waiting by a black car that probably costs more than his entire life. "You did good," Rafe says quietly. Elio looks back at the courthouse, at the families still streaming out, at the system that let this happen for years before anyone cared enough to stop it. 19 babies are still dead, he says, and Crowe gets 8 years, maybe less with good behavior. Ciro's expression is dark. Justice doesn't undo harm. It just stops it from spreading. This isn't the ending you expected, but it's the truth about how broken systems really work. Subscribe for more stories that matter. Turn on notifications and share your thoughts below to inspire others who need to hear this. 6 months later, Elio stands in a hospital that doesn't exist on any map. It's called Mercy Heights. Private facility funded by money nobody asks about. 20 beds. State-of-the-art NICU equipment. Staff handpicked for competence and the ability to keep their mouths shut about who writes the checks. Known Calderi sits in his father's arms, 14 months old now, babbling at Rafe in a language only they understand. He's small for his age. Always will be. The damage from those early weeks left marks that medicine can't erase. But he's alive. Laughing, reaching for Rafe's face with chubby fingers that know nothing about 4 pumps or research protocols or the price his father's paid to keep him breathing. Elio watches from the doorway. He's not a nurse here. Not exactly. His title's something like Patient Advocacy Coordinator, which mostly means he makes sure nobody tries anything like what Crowe did ever again. He reviews every treatment plan, questions every unusual order, drives the doctors crazy with his paranoia and doesn't care because these babies don't get second chances. Ciro appears beside him, silent as always. "You settling in okay?" "Yeah." Elio glances around the facility. Still feels weird working somewhere that doesn't require 3 forms in triplicate just to access patient files. That's kind of the point. Ciro's expression softens slightly, about as close to a smile as he gets. No bureaucracy, no research quotas, just medicine, the way it's supposed to work. Funded by organized crime. Funded by people who give a damn. Ciro's tone brooks no argument. You want to debate the ethics of where money comes from, or you want to save lives? Elio doesn't have an answer for that. Doesn't need one. He chose this path 6 months ago when he testified against Crowe. When he burned every bridge to his old life and accepted that some fights don't end with tidy resolutions. Marissa's here too. 3 other nurses from St. Raphael's who got tired of watching the system protect itself at patients' expense. Dr. Venn consults twice a week. Together they've treated 47 babies in 6 months. 46 survived. 1 didn't. Cardiac defect they couldn't fix. But they tried. Fought for every second. And when the baby died, they grieved like he mattered instead of filing him away as acceptable loss. Elio's phone buzzes. Text from Jasmine. "Baby girl born yesterday. 32 weeks. Bringing her to you tomorrow." His chest tightens. Jasmine's pregnant again. Terrified history will repeat. But she trusts Elio. Trusts this place. Trusts that her daughter won't become a data point in someone's research. He types back, "We'll be ready." Rafe carries known over. The baby reaches for Elio with that fearless curiosity toddlers have before the world teaches them to be careful. "Say thank you," Rafe prompts gently. Known babbles something that might be words. Elio takes his tiny hand and feels the steady pulse beneath paper-thin skin. Alive, thriving, proof that sometimes fighting impossible battles pays off in ways you can't measure on spreadsheets. He doesn't need to thank me, Elio says quietly. Just needs to keep breathing. Rafe's expression goes soft. You know you saved more than just him, right? The families from the trial, most of them are suing the hospital. Policy changes are rolling out across the state. Institutional review boards actually reviewing protocols now instead of rubber stamping whatever researchers submit. Doesn't bring back the ones we lost. No, Rafe's voice is steady. But it might save the ones coming next. That's not nothing. Ciro joins them, and for a moment they stand together in the quiet NICU. Two men who built empires on violence, and one Omega in turn who decided rules mattered less than lives. You ever regret it? Ciro asks, speaking up, losing everything. Elio looks at Known, at the monitors tracking steady heartbeats in the cribs around them, at the future stretching out uncertain and fragile and worth fighting for. Not even once. Outside, rain starts falling. The same kind of storm that soaked the windows the night Known was born. But inside Mercy Heights, the air is warm, the lights are steady, and 20 babies sleep peacefully, watched over by people who chose them over careers, over safety, over the easy path that leads nowhere worth going. Justice didn't undo the harm, didn't resurrect the dead or erase the scars, but it stopped the bleeding, and sometimes that's the only victory possible. Elio checks his watch. Shift starts in 10 minutes. 47 babies to protect. 47 reasons to stay awake. 47 lives that matter more than his fear. He rolls up his sleeves and gets to work. Because someone has to, and it might as well be him. Thanks for staying with us through this journey. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge, inspire, and remind us why fighting for what's right always matters. Even when victory tastes bitter. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next upload. Share your thoughts in the comments and let's build a community that refuses to stay silent when it matters most. Your voice could inspire someone else to speak up. See you in the next story.